we'll try to finish the theory part of numerical integration. Okay, we start with trapezoidal method, and then do Simpson method. We just do these two methods, and then double integration. And if we have more time, we will go through the code on how we do it in Python and show you how to get the analytical solution from SimPy. Okay, like last time, the trapezoidal method is divided the domain into several sections. Each section has a trapezoidal shape. We add them together. Okay, and for the part that we have large variation of the function, if we discretize more, when it changes quick, our answer is more accurate. Okay, so if you want to use non-uniform grid, you can, and it helps. Okay, so first example, I use 12 nodes. Second example, I also use 12 nodes. Okay, the second one, I discretize it evenly. The first one, I discretize more when it changes quick. So we get more accuracy this way, right? And how do we adjust? So I adjust this based on what I see, right? I plot the graph first, and then I adjust it. How do we adjust it automatically? Is there a way to do that? So like we automatically detect where's a quick change of that function, and then we discretize more. And when the function doesn't change much, we discretize less.
Just calculate the slope.
Just calculate the slope.
Yeah, if the slope is
So it has something to do with the slope. For this lecture, we don't do anything like automatic step yet. Okay. For the automatic step part, we will do in solving ODE, but it's similar to this. Okay. Right now, I just discretize it visually. Okay. The benefit of doing that. Let's take a look at this example. Summation of x equal to 5. Okay. If I have each section equal to 1, so I have 5 sections. 1 plus 1 plus 1. Okay, I mean it's here. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equal to 5. Okay. So what if x equal to 0.1? So instead of 5 number, I need 50 number. Adding 50 number together, right? What if x equal to each x is 0.01? So I need 500 number added together. So we may think that if we discretize more, smaller and smaller gap, the answer should be more and more and more accurate, right? In general, this is correct, okay? But I want to point out that, okay, if my x is equal to 0.1, okay, my x equal to 0.1, I add 0.1 together, I get 5. If my x equal to 10 to the power of minus 7, I add all of them together, it's not quite 5, it's 4.9999 and some error. So this is because computer can have a certain number of digits. It's a 15 digit accuracy, right? So when x is too small, we have more addition. So we add many numbers together. When we add number together, the error propagate. Okay, it's not much, but if delta x is too small, error can be more. So when we add each area together, if the area is very small, there is some error associated with adding the number together. So use less point can be better than too many points. In addition, if you have like 1 billion points, what's going to happen? The result will be very accurate. It has some error associated to adding number together, right? And it will be slow. You don't want that. It requires a lot of memory. So this graph I show you, okay, if I have x equal to 10 to the power of 0 or x equal to 1, add together, what do you get? X equal to 10 to the power of minus 7. Add those numbers together. The error from addition can go up quickly. Okay, see this graph? When we add numbers together, then error go up. So instead of try to use more point, we may want to use similar number of points but use better method. So better method is Simpson method. Okay, we have Simpson 1/3 and Simpson 3/8. Okay, these two methods, one of them is, both of them is fourth order. Okay, that's the error that we have. Is better, and the explanation of that degree of error is that, okay, so when the interval or edge decrease 10 times, for Simpson method, the error decrease 10,000 times. Okay. For trapezoidal method, when delta x decrease 10 times, the error decrease just 100 times. Let's take a look at this. So this is trapezoidal method, right? If we have smaller interval, so we have less and less error. For now, just forget about the error from transgression error of floating point variable. So basically what I say is, if delta x decrease 10 times, the error decrease 100 times for trapezoidal method. Very good. For Simpson method, if we decrease 10 times, the graph decrease 10 times, the error decrease 10,000 times, even better, right? So we really should know about it. Okay. So this method, I skip all the derivation, okay? But basically there's use Lagrange polynomial interpolation, get the formula, from the formula, do a little bit more math, then we get this. So this method, main thing to remember is it requires function value at starting point at A, function value at the end point at B, and at the middle. At the middle means you cannot really do non-uniform grid. Okay, at least you have to have some kind of stepwise change of the grid size. So you need similar interval between point A and the middle point and the middle point and point B. Okay, this is integration from A to B.
Is the 4 between the middle term is because of the error reduction?
Number 4.
We reduce the error 4 times, right?
Number 4, that's number 4. Where's that number 4 come from?
I think it's because of that.
Number 4 come from derivation of the method itself. So the method, the derivation that we skip, that's where number 4 come from. So number 4 we have, this method have 1, 4, 1, which is a coefficient. So basically it's telling that if we have the coefficient of 1 on the beginning point, the coefficient of 4 on the middle point, and the coefficient of 1 at the end point, then we get the area under the curve, equivalent to have quadratic polynomial connect the dot. Previously we have just a straight line connect the dot, right? So Simpson method is equivalent to use a curve to connect two dots together, and you get area under the curve. So if we have one section, we have the coefficient of 1, 4, and 1, and then we average it with this, okay? 1/6.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So is there any specific reason why you use P of X and then the other right hand side?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, this is
F of X.
typo. It should be both F or both P.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get the function value at the beginning point, function value at the middle point, and function value at the end. This method requires even number of the interval. Okay. For 2 interval, we have 3 point. Okay. It can work for 2 interval, 4, 6, even number of interval. If the number of interval is the odd number, this method doesn't work. Doesn't work like quick. Doesn't work at all. You need to adjust a little bit. So this method is for even number of interval. So for 10 interval with 11 point, we can use this method. What if we have 11 interval? What do we do? Can we use this method? Can we use this method with another method? For example, part of it you use trapezoidal and part of it you use Simpson method. Can we? So we may have Simpson method for 10 interval, and the last interval we use trapezoidal. That works. But that's not quite good. That's kill our accuracy, right? Okay. If we have this function, which part do we use? So if we divided it by half, first half, second half, which part do you want to use trapezoidal, which part do you want to use Simpson? Simpson is more accurate.
For the first and part.
The first part, we should use
Yeah.
Simpson. Simpson it have a little bit more complicated formula, but it gives us a better result. Okay? So for the place where function change quick, we should use this. In fact, we can use Simpson method and Simpson 3.8. Simpson 3.8 is another method that use 1, 2, 3 interval. So it's required 4 point and 2 point in the middle. Okay, 1 at the front, 1 at the back, and 2 at the middle. Totally 4 point or 3 interval. So if you have 11 interval, you can divide it by 8 and 3. 8 plus 3 equal to 11, right? So the first 8 use 1/3. The last 3 use 3/8 method. So for any number of section, there can be the combination of Simpson 3/8 and 1/3. Okay. All right. How do we combine them together? This is just one interval, Simpson from A to B. For composite Simpson, we have several domains. Maybe you think about it like A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F. So each of them has the coefficient of 1, 4, 1, right? So we have several 1, 4, 1. Add them together, but there's a overlap. Like the overlap can be over there. So you have first section 1, 4, 4 multiplied by height, and 1 multiplied by height. So this is one part. Okay, first part. And then second part, another 1, 4, and 1. So this is second part. So there's an overlap, which is the point in the middle. So instead of 1, 4, 1 plus 1, 4, 1 plus 1, 4, 1, you can do it like that. Or you can use 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1. Like the part that overlap, you change to 2. Or you can do this thing several times. It's the same. So you divide it into 2 sections, maybe 5 of 2 sections, and each 2 sections you use Simpson 1/3. You can do it like that. The difference between, yes?
It's going to be a problem if we don't, if the interval is repeated. I mean, one of the interval is repeated. Not the interval, I mean, one of the points is repeated. Because you said that you can use 1, 4, 1 or 1 or 2, 4, 2, 4. And for the last one, you can use 1.
That's not the problem. You have this kind of graph, right? This kind of graph. First point, okay, 2, 3, 4 interval. Let's assume that it's uniform, okay? So the coefficient of the height of the first one is 1, the coefficient of the height of the second one is 4, the coefficient of the height of the third one is 1. And then we go to the next section, which is this, right? The coefficient of this same height is 1 and 4 and 1. When you add these two together, it becomes 1, 4, 2, 4, 1.
Oh,
Got it? Alright.
So you have 1, 4, 2, 4, 1.
Yes. Or if you have many sections, then you have this part too. Then you have first equation for this, second equation for this, and third equation for this one. So it will be 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 1, and another 1, 4, 1. When you add them together, it will be 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1. Like that. That is Simpson 1/3. What about 3, 8? So don't forget, multiply by total gap divided by 6. Okay, otherwise it doesn't work. What about Simpson 3, 8? 3, 8 is just 3 over 8 multiplied by h, and h is the gap of in each interval. Okay, so this I say, okay, we have first interval, second interval, third interval. So this gap is h. Gap between interval is h. So let's say m equal to 1. M equal to 1 means we have 1 of 3 interval. Or totally we have 3 interval. If m equal to 2 means totally we have 6 interval. Okay. So Simpson 3/8 work for the number of interval is the multiplication of 3. It can be 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. Okay. But you can use this in combination with Simpson 1/3 for any interval you like. The formula from point A to B is 3h over 8, and function value at the add one more parenthesis over here. Okay. Function value at the first location plus 3 multiplied by height at the next location, and 3 multiplied by height at the next location, and 1 multiplied by the height at the last location. So it's 1, 3, 3, 1 for one section. For several sections will be 1, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 1, or something like that. That's the formula. If you can get the new formula, you can use this formula. So this means m equal to 1, so this means you have 3 sections, 1 or 3 sections. If m equal to 2, you have 2 or 3 sections, or 3 sections twice. Okay? If you have many, then m is number of total sections divided by 3. We already talked about this. Let's do double integration. Question on just regular integration. It's just a formula if we skip all the derivation, right? So the formula says we use the height multiplied by some coefficient, add them together and average. Just that. For Simpson 1/3, the weight for the first height is 1, the weight for the middle is 4, and the weight for the last one is 1. So let's do double integration. Okay, this is double integration from 1 to 3, and from 12 to y of x squared plus 7y dx dy. First, before we can do double integration, we have to look at the integration domain. Okay, 12. What's that 12? 12 is x equal to 12, right? Which line is x equal to 12? Red or blue, dash or solid? George Perdomo.
Blue. Solid.
Solid blue. That's x equal to 12. You agree? Solid blue is x equal to 12. What about x equal to y? Non-generally.
The dash line blue.
Dash blue. Okay. So these two. That is the limit of the integration, right? That is the dashed line. So when we integrate from 12 to y, so it's from the solid blue to dash blue. We move backward in x. Okay, we move backward in x. What about y? We go from 1 to 3. We move up from this line, from the solid line to the dashed line, right? So the domain of the integration is that gray trapezoidal area. That's the area of the integration. What about the function? You know how to do this analytically, right? Can you explain me a little bit, Daniel? How do we do it analytically?
I mean, we take the first integration first, like we integrate the first part.
First part is from 12 to y?
Yeah, 12 to y.
Okay.
Then we integrate the second part from 1 to 3.
So when we integrate from 12 to y, what is the y value that we put over there? Or we don't put anything? We don't substitute the value yet.
Why?
When we integrate this, of course, it will be x cubed over 3, right? That's the first term. The second term will be what? 7yx?
7x.
So integration of just this before putting the limit inside. Do we get 7yx? Or you don't like 7yx? I take 7y as a constant and integrate constant by dx, I get just x. So I get 7yx. You like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So when we do the integration, we don't substitute the value first, the value yet. Imagine this. That y and that y, are they the same? Or they are not? Jerlin, are they the same?
It should be the same.
Must be. Are you positive? You know it for sure? Why not? 90% sure? It is the same. It is, right? Because look at the domain that we do. We do between x and y. So when we write it in this form, that y and that y is the same. So you know how to do it analytically. Now, what if we do it numerically? How do we do it? Can we use Simpson method twice? Yes, we can, and I did that. Okay. Let's take a look on how do we do it. Okay, now I do the plot. This color thing is about the order, it's not the value. And this y is a little bit of my mistake. It should be fxy. Okay, this should be fxy. I plot fxy, which is whatever in the middle here, as a function of x. Okay. Now I said y equal to 1. Y equal to 1 is the lower limit of integration. Y equal to 3 is upper limit, right? So at y equal to 1, and I put x in, I get this point first, and then we integrate backward in x from x equal to 12, and we stop at x equal to y, which is 1. Right? So we stop at that point when y equal to 1. If y equal to 3, we stop a little bit early, just that. You like the idea? So if we say, hey, let's forget about the double integration, just set y equal to 1. We will get the area under the curve of the first line, right? That's the area under the curve. So it's just the area under the curve. But this time you do it several times. You do it from y to 1, y equal to 1 plus something, y equal to that point plus something until y equal to 3. So it's like 2D. Okay. So first, okay, in SciPy, we just use double integration, double quad, just that, and it's done. Very easy. Don't need to understand anything. But that's not the point, okay? The point is to understand something. So if you do scipy.integrate, double quote, put the function in, limit of the function, and this function inside, it do the integration, okay? So this is limit for y, and this is limit for x. Limit for x is not a constant, is lambda function or any function. So this function is the lower limit. The lower limit take one input and its output constant 12. Okay. The upper limit take one input and it output that thing. Because the limit of integration is variable, right? That is how you do in SciPy. Very quick and accurate too. Okay. But okay, let's use Simpson method twice. You understand about Simpson method, right? Now we can do this twice. So this is allow you to fully understand what's going on in this line. Okay. Step 1, we create integration from a to y of the function f(x,y). So basically we take the inner part and we writing it like this. Okay. What does it mean? The function take one input, which is what? Okay. A is constant, y is variable, x is variable, that y is variable, and that dx. So who's next? Me. So this function give us, what is the output from this function? Output will be scalar, vector, or what?
Be a vector.
Where's that vector come from? It should be one number. Is it?
Okay.
When you integrate some function from one point to another point, we get area under the curve. Area under the curve is just one number. But that number is dependent upon value of y. Make sense? Because we stop the integration at point y. So if you integrate from a to b of f(x) dx, and then you just get one number. Not a function of anything, it's one number. But this time we say, we stop at y. So at different y, we get different answer. So you can think about this as gy is a function g which take one unknown as an input, which is y. It takes y as an input and its output the integration from a to y. Okay, whatever that y is. Good? So it's one function that, of course, it takes one input, which is y. Different y give you different value. Make sense? So you can think about it just g sub gy. Gy is a function depending on y, whatever y you get the output. Okay? Yes, question?
So, but we're going to specify the value of a.
In our case, a equal to 12.
So, but, I mean, it's
And
also
our f(x,y) equal to
f of x, y.
x squared plus 7y. Right? So I write it in this form so that it works for any cases. Okay? Let's say in the exam, if we have, or in your project, final project, I cannot give you exactly like that, right? It has to be something else. Okay, so you think about the inner integration as gy. So now you have integration of gy dy from 1 to 3. What is the integration of 1 to 3 of gy dy? It gives me just a number. It's not a. Is it a function of y? Not really like that, right? What we cannot specify y to be a certain value. It just integrate function gy and give me the area under the curve from y equal to 1 and y equal to 3, whatever that function is. So the trick to do double integration is do regular integration twice. But you have to think about the inner part as one function first. If you can convert that to g of y, then we are done. Are we? Okay, let's see the code. I have linear space from 1 to 3, 11 points. You can do that, right? Okay. Then I have lambda function, which is x squared plus 7y, the middle part. Now I try to create g of y. Okay. G of y, I say, hey, it is a function that requires one input, which is y. Y has to be the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever that you want. And it gives me one output, which is integration from 12 to y. So I have 12 here. So this Simpson method that I have, the first argument it takes array of y, and it take array of, height, array of height, and array of x. Let me draw it. So that function, I have that point, okay, that point, that point, that point. And that is the array of this point, list of that point is one of the input. And another input that I need is the height correspond to each x. That's another input. So if you know the point and you know the height at each point, we can use the formula 141 or 142, 4241, right? We can use that, right? So basically, Simpson method take x, list of x or vector of x, and the height at each x. Okay. So for now, I don't worry about y. I say y is anything that you put as an input. So for array of x, I discretize from 12 and end at y. And I have 11 point. Okay. 11 point means 10 interval. For 10 interval, I can use Simpson 1/3, right? Correct? For Simpson 1/3, the number of interval has to be even number. So for x, I have a point from 12 to y and 11 point or 10 section. So when we use NumPy linear space backward like this, it still work. Okay. So if you have 12 and something less than, a little bit less than 12. So for value of y or the height at each x, I calculate it by passing my vector into that function. So that vector is x. So now x is not one number, but is okay. This is to show you how does it look like. So we have np dot linspace 12, 4, 11. What do I get? So I get 12, 11.2, the decreasing, right? Until it reach 4, and it's 11 point. So for NumPy linear space, it works anyway, even though the limit is like backward. Okay? So this function is x squared. It works for vector too. Doesn't need to be scalar, right? So I put vector of x in, and I put just one y value, which is one Yeah, put one y value. So it will give me 12, or it give me integration result. So it give me, this line itself give me 12 height. You have height, not 12, height 11 times. Right, so basically, the input for the Simpson user-defined function is x as a vector and y as a vector, height at each point of x. To calculate that height, you put it in this function. Okay. I just create a function. So this fy3 is the same as gy. Okay. I didn't do anything yet. Not any integration. And then when I integrate it, this time I try to get height at input of 1 to 3, 11 point. You see this? 1 to 3, 11 point is the outer limit of the integration. So that 1 to 3, 11 point, I put it here. So that is a vector x. We do the integration from 1 to 3. And we integrate this thing. Why do I have bracket? I mean bracket there telling me it is what? List. It is a list, right? It is a list comprehension, right? It's not just a list. Inside there's a for, so it's equivalent to for loop. It's a list comprehension. So how many members in that list? I mean, you want to help me?
So the y fx y3 is equal to that.
The answer should be integer.
There's 11.
11, correct. So there's 11 height, right? So how do I get that 11 number? I put each part of this vector into function gy, and I evaluate it 11 times so that I get 10 interval, and then I do integration again. So the trick here means first we create a function, but that function is require the integration already. We don't run it yet. We don't do anything with it yet. We just create. And when we run it, we just use this line. Even though it is just one line, if you take a look at it, okay, first I equal to first member in this list, right? In this array, which is 1. So when y equal to 1, what happens is the number 1 will send to function fy3. In function fy3, that number 1 will set to be here, here, and here. So this means when y equal to 1, it creates linear space from 12 to 1 as the x input and have the output of 11 number from this thing, okay? This function gy, yes.
It said y inside the Simpson's bracket after a linear space. No, in the previous. Yeah.
On top.
Yeah, it just that y.
This y?
Is it the upper limit?
Yes, it is that upper limit. So when I equal to 1, you put 1 into this function, right? Once you put I in that function, it calls this lambda function. So it creates linear space from 12 to 1. It get the function value 11 value from that function, and then it do Simpson integration. For the next point, y equal to something which is not 1, more than 1, then it do Simpson integration again. The next point, it do Simpson integration again. The next point, it do Simpson integration again. This is, so basically it's do Simpson integration 11 times already to create 11 height. So this comprehension make 11 times of Simpson integration. Okay, just the first part. This thing make 11 times of Simpson integration. So it's integrate 11 times. That's y value, that height. And then you have x value. Then you do Simpson again of that height, the pair of the height and the point, then you get outer integration equation. Yes.
So Fy3 is the inside integration.
This is by 3.
So we do the same thing between 12 and y. The second link space, the second argument, do we still need it? I'm still trying to like say.
Are you talking about
Yeah, that one. The
this
second-
one?
No, that one is fine. I'm talking about the second.
Are you talking about this? Or number 11?
The whole argument.
Oh, I haven't shown you how Simpson look like yet. SIMPS is my own function. I cannot find it. So my own Simpson look like, let's see, that's 3A. No, that's 1/3. Let me open it from Judah notebook. And you already have this Jupyter notebook, right? Did you download it? Didn't have that, but okay. Ah, that is actually, I think it's SciPy then, it's not mine. So that is SciPy Simpson algorithm. SciPy Simpson algorithm require, let's run this one again. Okay, the signature of that is y, which is height, and then x, which is a point value, right? So when you have height and you have point, then you can do Simpson integration. More questions?